And welcome to another episode of the Toolbox Podcast, where we talk about technical things, constructions, and audiovisual and whatever. Today we shall be talking about subject related to sewage. It's not sewage. What did we call it?
It is private wastewater management
Waste
system.
management, in a way, that related to sewage.
Yes,
because
at
they're
home.
different. Yes, at home. Waste
Domestic
management at home, because there are different waste management systems and whatever.
Yeah.
Once again, finally, I'm back to my co-host. I'm with Peter. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, boys.
Thanks. So, in homes,
Yeah.
there are few types of waste management.
Yes.
There is the one, by the way, in Africa, the most common is the one we're going to talk about. But worldwide, and at least in Kampala, they're trying to put a sewage system.
It has been there, I think, from colonial times.
Yes, no, but in some areas it's
Expanding.
not there. They're trying to expand. This is where they are now digging Bogolobi and all the area and putting sewage. But in many places in Africa, when there is no sewage, there are basically two ways or 2.5 ways to do sewage at a home. One is called septic tank, and the other one is called
Pit latrine.
the other one
Biodigester.
biodigester. Yes, pit latrine is more for public toilets,
Even in villages.
even in villages.
Yes.
So for the homes we have biodigesting.
With waterborne toilets. That is
Okay.
with waterborne toilets. Villages, they don't have most villages don't have waterborne toilets.
Yes, those are the very remote places in the middle of nowhere in the bush. And there they also use some, what they call magic powder that you'll talk about in a bit as well. So we have the septic tank and we have the biodigest.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two?
They are all septic tanks.
Okay.
The difference is the so-called trade name locally here adopted of biodigesters that is prefabricated. The traditional conventional septic tanks are in situ. They are made on site. The biodigester, as it is commonly known here, they are prefabricated. They are manufactured in a factory, delivered on site, connected to the plumbing lines on site. They begin to work.
But septic tank is made of a tank, a plastic tank.
It can be in different, but it can be FRPs, what you call fiber reinforced polymers.
Okay.
It can be HDPE, what you call common plastic, black.
PVC.
Not PVC, it is HDPE.
Okay.
It's also a polymer. HDPE
Okay.
means a high density polyethylene.
Okay.
It can be reinforced concrete, precast reinforced concrete.
Okay.
It can be masonry with the bricks or blocks. It can be, there's some part of steel that is type of steel, but it has to be properly treated.
You'll see pictures. I'll upload
Yeah.
pictures of the different types we just mentioned.
Even with the references. So a conventional septic tank, most of the time it is done in situ, what people are commonly used to here. It is in situ. Guy excavates a pit, then they build it up.
And of all those, you mentioned 4. Did I count 4 methods? Which one is the materials? Which one is the most reliable? Before we go to the bio whatever, of those that you construct septic tanks, the plastic, the concrete, the bricks, all of those types, which one is the most reliable? Which one would you recommend and why?
In a performance, if any of these are properly designed, that is especially the sizing. Because how the sewage treatment work in a dredging, a domestic dredging, because you consider like having a mini sewage treatment plant at home. So a septic tank works with a soakaway pit or a percolation field or a percolation trench. Any name you can adopt. So as long as you can size the tank properly, and then you construct the percolation field properly, the two get the best, irrespective of the material used.
Okay.
You get the septic tank, the container right, you get the percolation field right, you have a system.
Doesn't matter the material, as long as it is done to the standard, it's all same.
Exactly.
How do you calculate the size? By the number of toilets?
We usually use two methods. One is what we call dilution per head. For example, as I estimate that a person, an individual, in a normal domestic dwelling, we have many types. We have what we call normal, we have luxury, we have middle class. So on average, we assume that once you are going to flush from the laundry, from the kitchen, your contribution to the is 350 to 380 liters.
So it's not just toilets, you calculate the laundry, how much water you use in a way. Yes.
Average. The laundry, the cleaning, everything. So we aggregate. These are cited references from very many.
So in the mid-class, what we talk about, some people use washing machine and some people use what we call a washing machine model of a bucket. So the bucket consumes less water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the luxury, these are people with the jacuzzis, bathtubs. So the consumption goes higher. Okay. And all that has gone down in the treatment system. So we can take it up to be 380 liters. That is per head. That's our method. We call it dilution per head or per person. Another method is per bedroom. But that one is more ideal in the West.
Per bedroom, not necessarily per toilet, but per bedroom.
Per bedroom. The reason is why I say it is more appropriate for the West. In Uganda, almost Africa, a bedroom you can cram in a deck of 4, and those are 8 people. 2 decars of 4, those are 8 people.
Okay.
In the West, a normal bedroom of 10 feet by 10 feet is 2.
2, okay.
2 kids. So the bedroom formula is more ideal for the West. Here in Uganda, it's not very applicable.
Okay.
Because you know where we come from. We sleep 8 people in one bedroom. 8, that is even a minimum. 2 decars or 4.
And this is for homes, but for schools and whatever, it's a different story.
Exactly. So usually recommend that for an effective system, especially for the septic tanks, literature. We have a lot of literature which are cite. For schools and institutions, you have to make sure that you don't go beyond 300 people. Though you hear people advertising that this one can work, just one unit can work for 500 people. It doesn't work like that. So sometimes if you have a very big institution like schools, that's what you mean. You will have different wings with different septic tank systems or sewage treatment systems. Many times, unless it is like a village where you can go for lagoons and different other systems used. But here, let us concentrate on domestic dwellings.
And is there recommended distance from the house to those systems?
Very, very, very important. I'm happy you raised that. And that's where I have a problem with these so-called biodigester people. They market it and they say it goes in a small lot. So the problem is there are specifications. The key thing is on the percolation field. Never install or construct a percolation field, a soak-away pit, less than 5 meters from a major building.
Why?
The moment, this is a seeping point, percolation to seep. Foundations are not friendly with moisture variation or fluctuation.
They will sink, cracks.
When you bring moisture, there's even have an entire subject. When you're building in Bogolobi, there's what we call subsurface drainage. When you're building in areas whereby the water table is high, you have to drain the water beneath the foundation of of that structure. We install French drain to drain the water away. Moisture has 2 things on a building. When there are moisture fluctuations under or close to a foundation, I'll give you an example of a tree. For example, a tree. We don't recommend big trees next to a building. It's what we call frost heaving. Frost heaving is when the soil underneath or close to the foundation gets moisture, it swells. And as it swells, it moves the foundations. When that moisture dries out, it shrinks. As it shrinks, the foundation settle. So you see those dynamics? It's very dangerous to come close to a major building. And now another problem is even beyond a building. In Ireland, Republic of Ireland, most of the homes, and it's coming in Uganda now, almost every home now has a private water well. And in Ireland, they have a strategy. They have a national data bank for everyone who constructs a septic tank.
Just organized like in Uganda.
I'm telling you, I was shocked. In Ireland, by law, you are mandated. After constructing a septic tank, you have to report authorities within 90 days.
I would want to believe that in Uganda it's also there, but just nobody is following.
It's not mandated.
Not mandated, okay.
That you have to report.
Okay.
What happens in the approval process, when you are submitting your drawings for approval to the council?
We stand to be corrected. If somebody from government wants to correct us, please comment.
Yes.
No problem.
It's the mandating is that it's not mandated that you report. When you submit your drawings for approval, there are very many officials that have to approve those drawings to check whether it's going to be fit for human occupation. One of them is the DHO, District Health Officer. He has to confirm, or the public health officer, is there a drainage system? How far is it from? So the district engineer, they go through all that. But it's not mapped that at Boaz, there is, at this GPS, like you see, like umeme meters or national water meters, because these days they're installing GPSs.
But they're still not mapped. They are mapping, I believe, on a general level, not to the house. If I tell umeme I have a problem, they don't know to come to my home yet.
Maybe in their system they have not yet, but they are GPSs. When you transfer the meter from here to Kabari, they will know.
By registration, not by GPSs.
They told me it's by GPS.
I highly, again, stand to be corrected. We shall have one day Peter here from Umeme. He will tell us about it.
Yeah.
But
so, when we go back to the distances, we've been talking about from the houses, but let us expand it a little bit. Not only houses, private water well. People these days in Kampala.
What is a water well? The one that you get water to drink from?
Private water well, people sink. It should have been sink like a borehole in your home.
Okay.
So these things are manually dug. They are manually dug. It is cheap. And the key thing is basically heating the water table, then you expand the pit down there so that water collects, then you pump it up.
Okay.
Almost in every home, they have a private water well. It's happening. KCC.
What's the advantage of it?
You no longer pay water bills to national water. You have your own water.
Okay.
So KCC doesn't like those water wells.
Why?
In Kampala. Ground contamination.
Elaborate.
Sometime we had typhoid outbreak in
Kampala. Yes. Still once in a while.
And the key problem from the public health officials.
Okay, not outbreaks, but there are typhoid cases in Uganda.
Yeah. Yes. In case you are not even allowed to excavate a pit latrine because of fear of ground contamination. So a lot of people are using sunk private water wells in a way of dodging national water bills. It's like you say, I want to buy solar so that I don't pay grid. So these guys sink, they excavate manually their water wells, not to pay national water, like hotels. Almost every hotel in Kampala has a water well.
Really?
Almost. Those big shopping malls. Water bills are, when you have a lot of people, it is a serious burden. So the best way of dodging water bills, it's all about paying bills. That's what works.
And there's a way of hybrid combination of the grid of water from national water and a well?
Exactly.
It works? It's there?
Yes, it can work. It's not connected necessarily. It is connected within your house. But how it works, a private well is independent. What connects it's just the plumbing. That one line is from the water well, then they join to where they feed with the national water.
Already I've learned something today.
Yeah. So the private water wells, KCC clamped them. But it was challenging because they could go to a hotel. I don't want to mention names. You go to a hotel, let me say go to Boaz. He has a well. Boaz Hotel, Boaz Restaurant has a hotel, sunk his borehole, water well, but also has national water. So it says, no, we need to clamp these things down.
How would they know?
Investigations, whistleblowers.
Whistleblowers, but they cannot come to a house or hotel and see there's a well under the building.
No. What I'm saying was, when a hotel is open to the public, and as I've told you, for example, in Ireland, they do manual inspection because they don't want people to get infected with diseases due to.
But how do you find a whale?
A whale,
In a construction, if I've not invited you to
open.
inspect,
It is open. You can
it's always on the side or it's under the building?
within the compound.
Okay.
And it has an access point, like a septic tank. It has an access point where you go, you do maintenance, inspections.
So
And
those inspections are happening before commissioning of a building usually, or?
these inspections, I'm talking private inspection, not
Okay.
they are not licensed that you go. People are just
Okay.
doing them on their own.
Okay.
So I can see clump to them because they discovered and observed they were source of the infection and the spread of the typhoid and everything else. So the challenge was when they went to these hotel owners, when they told them, you guys, you are the source of the problem. And they're like, no, for us we use these water wells for green, for
the grass and
their
whatever.
lawns.
Yes, for the lawns.
You see the technicality there? You are not going to clamp these guys away because it tells you don't have the evidence that is using this water for drinking or for laundry or for the kitchen. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this guy really is using this water well because it's not treated, it's raw water. And before you treat, you have to determine the properties of the raw water, the chemical, the physical, the biological. So what happened, it was very difficult to clamp them down. And it is difficult even if you clamp them down today, you're not going to put a policeman there.
Now, this actually, both the sewage and the well, it's interesting how we came to the two subjects.
Yeah.
It goes back to our first episode
Yes.
of standards.
Yeah.
There is no standard in the country. There is no enforcement of how things to be done.
The standards, the AD...
Some are there.
Exactly.
But
enforcement.
Enforcement, mandate, not there.
Yeah. And I know we are a developing country, but I just cited Ireland started in 2013. This is a very developed country. 2013. And they're monitoring.
So this is late. This is recent.
Yes. So not only do we mind about the distance where these systems are, especially the percolation field, the soakaway pit, the distance of the soakaway pit from the house, a major building, and from a water well, very, very important.
Now, we asked before the session, you want to finish?
Yeah. The distance from a water well, people have wells in their homes, a private water well, the distance of a soak pit from is a minimum of 50 feet. 50 feet, that is a plot.
15 meters.
50, yeah, that's 15 meters. Then from a major building, that is 5 meters. We shall post all the citations for that.
Interesting.
And these are basically from one of the citations is a plumbing engineering handbook that is by the American Society of Plumbing Engineers and many, many, many others.
Now, in many houses, I don't know if mine as well, I was not there when they did, they put buvera. Buvera for people not in Uganda, nylon bag, PVC to cover the soak pit, even septic tank is just with a cover, a concrete cover, whatever.
Or metallic.
Or metallic. Effective, not effective? Why do they put, I'll say the local language, buvera on it? Why? And what's the story about it?
The buvera, because it is cheap, and also because some people maybe they don't know. Assuming you get the tank sizing right, let me assume it is right. Most of the professional engineers will get it right.
But sometimes there's no engineer involved. Sometimes it's the plumber doing.
Exactly. So assuming the sizing is okay, one of the most important things of the private wastewater treatment system is a percolation field or that soakaway pit. Very, very important. It's something that you should never go to.
So the buvera is important, not important?
I'm coming to that. So the cavera has a very minimal effect. The reason what you should be using is called a geotextile filter fabric. A geotextile filter.
You're very complicated fabric. For people like me. Explain.
A geotextile filter is a filter. You see like a sieve, but this is an engineering product. There is no any other way I can put it.
Okay.
But I can try to...
the difference between this and cavera?
It allows water to go through, but it does not allow fines to go through. Those are very fine particles of soil.
Now, another thing that affects the soak pit, at least I've seen many, many years ago, when it rains a lot, it affects the septic tank or the soak pit.
Yes. And we go back to the siting and the construction. If you have to determine the water level, the water table, and we don't determine the water table during the dry season, we determine the water table during the rain season.
Okay.
So when the water table is high, that means an ordinary soak pit won't work. They're what we call mounds. Mounds actually, basically, you import, and actually we recommend we pump sewage, we pump the effluent, that is the water from the septic tank, to the mound, which aside we are going to be showing you the photos.
What do you do when you have limited space in the compound to do a big septic tank? So your house is big, but you don't have much space.
Now, the problem is planning, number one. Let me go there. It's because we think about the things as an afterthought. In Uganda...
Like any other things, like audiovisual, like control, like all the other things. We always build a house. In Uganda, you build the construction, and then you start breaking the walls and chiseling.
That's what is happening. Because you cannot, if you don't, that's why people say, plan. If you submit your drawings to the council or the district or the municipality, if you don't have an appropriate sewage, because those people, they don't put their, let me say, biodigester close to the house in the drawings. They can't, because it can't pass the approval. Assuming these people are ethical, you know how the things work in Uganda. But if the drawings went through the approval process, you have to have a proper drainage system. If you don't have a sewer, you must have an on-site sewage management system. In Kampala and most of the Chira, they don't allow VIP latrines on a drawing. You must have a septic tank or a sewer, any of those two.
Now.
So if you have a small space, that means you didn't plan. You have to plan for how you're going to handle your wastes. It is mandated by NEMA. NEMA Act, that is CAP, I think 15, we shall post it. That is as of late of 2019. You must, it actually, it is incumbent upon the waste generator to be responsible in disposing of those wastes. So before you even think about building a brick, you should think about where the septic tank is going to be if you don't have a sewer line.
Interesting.
And the challenge you're having is most of the developers think about plumbing and electrical installation after the roof.
Is it important for a tenant to check those things before they rent a house?
No, that's a very good point, Boaz. Last time we were talking about NRBA, National Building Review Board. Now, National Building Review Board uploaded a form like checklists before you buy, or especially before you buy. Look for this, hire professional. Before you rent, I'm lucky I've been doing some work for people, international companies. Before they rent a property in Kampala, they hire an entire consulting firm to check, to appraise the building for their requirements, the structural integrity, everything. So before you rent, maybe a small person, okay, I wouldn't say small person, but if it's not a big corporation, you may not give a damn where these things are going. Because in Uganda, not only in Uganda, I have a report, even in the Republic of Ireland, some of the problems, when it rains, people they just connect their waste pipe to the adjacent stream.
You know, the reason I'm asking, because many years ago when I just reached to Uganda, I had a business. Some people know me by that business, but the whole system was very small to the building, and we made it a nightclub. It was a bar. And the smell would come every time it rains. So what I did, I adopted a trick from Israel. How did they dry the swamps in Israel many years ago? They plant eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is known to be highly drinking tree. So all around the septic tank, you can ask my people, we planted eucalyptus, young eucalyptus. They have grown very fast because they had a lot of water to drink. But ever since then, no issue whatsoever. I had a small farm of eucalyptuses, and I solved somehow my problem in a nature way. I have put a tree, and I sorted my problem of overflowing all the other time.
Yeah, we call it ponding. it happens so much, but as I said, if you don't properly site your percolation field, it has serious engineering in it. If you don't properly site it, if you don't properly pack it in geotextile filters, actually what we see most of the time these people are doing, the homeowners, you have to go to the sock pit, remove the stones, wash them, put them back. You're not meant to do that. If it is, have you seen how road contractors...
So this is not a normal method?
It's not meant to be. When you get into the sock pit and remove the stones...
So when your plumber comes once in a while, tells you, I need to do this?
That means it was not a good job. How many times have you seen people excavating roads and removing the rocks? And don't you see people putting rocks on the roads?
Yes.
Especially in the swamp. We call it swamp treatment.
Bogolobi here.
Road, you put rock fill, then you put, there is a black thing like blanket. That's a geotextile filter. But there are two types. There is what we call, it's a little bit technical, there's what we call a woven and a non-woven. So for drainage purposes, we prefer for the non-woven.
Those are lots of terms, by the way, but for you guys who don't understand, there's always Mother Google to help you. Just Google them.
Yeah. So if you do a percolation field properly, frankly, you will not go back there. And the reason most of them they do pond is because either they were sited in areas which have high water table, but we have a solution for that. We do mounds.
But some places here, in Bogolobi, there is a road on, I think it's 5th Street. Every few years they dig, they put the stone, they put the road. 2 years later, the road still sink. So are they doing Joakali job or?
I wouldn't like to diagnose that because I don't have the facts.
No, I understand. But by principle, by guide, what's the story there? Because we are the common people who drive and the road always it's not a pothole anymore, it's a crater. It's a huge going under, and then it's a place where the trucks are. So how come... Is it endless going to the ground? Those stones, the earth is sucking them, eating them, what?
No, it's not a sinkhole. Many times, before you do a road, you do what we call site investigation. Site investigation is broad, very broad. You do groundwater investigation. You do geotechnical investigation. You do soils and a lot of things.
I believe they do that.
So it happens. It can be an oversight, but it should be okay. It shouldn't be sinking.
What could be the cause? Also, water in the ground, it's like a soccer pit? What is it?
No, not a soccer pit. Many times, as I said, the key causes of that is either moisture movement, if you don't treat the swamp properly. Because we need continuous flow. Water, you can never stop water to flow. You either go with it. It's even in dam, we just harness the power of potential energy of water. You harness it, you build a dam, but it has to go.
Okay, we diverted away from the subject. We go back to waste management of homes.
Yes.
Two types mainly. The septic tank we've been talking about.
The traditional
septic tank that we just spoke about before. Yes. And then we have the biodigest.
Septic tank. Also added the biodigester septic tank.
Vusidus, what is this?
So the biodigester septic tank, as it is commonly known, would not be a problem if it is properly sized.
Elaborate.
The biggest challenge...
But the same applies to both septic tanks anyway.
Exactly.
The same principle applies, the size matters.
Exactly.
In speakers, size doesn't matter, but in this, size matter.
Yes. So the problem, as I said earlier, it is all about the sizing. The challenge with this is, number one, the so-called biodigesters, it's like a one-size-fits-all. Most of the time, they come to us, it's like a one-size-fits-all.
Marketing tactic, okay.
It's like one-size-fits-all. Number one. Number two, because it's like one-size-fits-all, let me give you a small example. If there's one which there is a certain case which has been trending online, which went viral. Most of these biodigesters, they are prefabricated, which is complying to most of the laws. Okay, the building standard is complying to BSCN 12566 Part 1 of 2016.
Blah, blah, blah. What is BSCN?
That is Euro codes.
Okay.
European standards. So it is under prefabricated septic tanks. The biodigester you see.
By the way, just for the reference, septic tanks are used anywhere else beside Africa?
Everywhere in the world.
Really?
The only difference that most of the developed countries, they don't like a lot of people. Intrusive work, come, dig. No. You come with your septic tank prefabricated, either from concrete or plastic, any form.
Okay.
But concrete is the most in developed countries. So the challenge is it is undersized. I'm giving an example of a culvert. If it has a diameter of, let me say, 1 meter out, external diameter, when we are sizing a septic tank, we don't look at the shear volume. We look at the water containment. Water containment, for a common man, you look at the inlet. To know the capacity of your tank is not how huge it is. You look at the inlet pipe entering, that's we call it an invert level, that level, or a liquid level in the tank. That is the real capacity of the tank. So I'm saying these things are undersized. When you're sizing, you have to look for the sludge retention, sludge collection, or storage within the tank, which they don't, because they claim it does need emptying, which is false, and we are debunking it. Then there's what's called residence time or detention time. It's like when you eat, there is digestion that takes place, but you can't eat and then everything passes. There is a time. The same applies to the biodigestion in the septic tank. We say the dilution per head for a person is 380 liters.
360, 380, okay.
That is 0.38 cubic meters. The average size of that small tank, biodigester, the average size, which they have been marketing around most of the time, is less than 0.6 cubic meters. You have one person is excreting, is the waste for one person generated per day is 0.38. The capacity of these tanks is 0.6 or less. That means two people can fill this thing beyond its capacity. 2 people. If you are generating 380 liters per day, that is 0.38 cubic meters.
So what's the story?
The story is because what happens is the marketeers...
Is it what we call fake? Is it what we call deceiving marketing? What is this?
It is deceptive marketing. And that's why we need to alert our customers, the consumers at large. It is deceptive marketing to say that, one, you don't need dislodging it. That is very deceptive.
But people have been using it, buying, doing.
They're using it, and the reports we're getting from the field, when it blocks, we call it backup. As you are taking a shower, water is not going, it is backing up. When you call the supply, it tells you call the plumber.
So it's a blame game.
It's a blame game. He tells you call the plumber. And that's what has been happening. Ask any plumber. Every time you call him, call the plumber. Recently, I met one of the guy who was doing it. He was doing biodigesters and private water wells. So he came to me, he found me, was marketing now water wells. But on the brochure, there was a septic tank, biodigester, and water wells. So I asked him, what about biodigester? We no longer do that. Some people have already run out of the market. So it is grossly undersized. And they are deceptively telling customers, homeowners, that you don't need to dislodge.
And internationally, it is used, not used.
As I said, a biodigester is a septic tank. The difference with our traditional mindset is it is prefabricated. It's not built on site. It is made in the factory and delivered. But the problem with what they are marketing locally, it is grossly undersized. That is the tank itself.
So if it will be bigger, it will be okay, it will be working?
Yes. And of course, there are very many little...
So is it true to say it's only people who want to save money buys this and then they cry after?
Exactly. 100%.
So bottom line, What you pay is what you get.
You pay. There's a common saying: "They do get monkeys."
You pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Exactly. So it's a problem. Now that is the tank. Now, because I say this is a system, not only a tank, but to go to the percolation field. They make one of the mistakes. They put most of them, not all. Because I said space is constraining. Someone doesn't have a lot of piece of land. So where they put the tank is where they put. Actually the tank sits on the septic, on the soak pit. So they excavate a pit, they put a tank, so-called the biodigester, and then they surround it with the stones, the hard core, and then it becomes a soak pit. And it is less than a meter or two from a major building, the house.
Now, is there septic tanks that doesn't need soak pit? Is
No.
there such a thing?
That is, what doesn't need a soak pit is called a cesspool.
Too many new terms today.
Yeah. A cesspool is not a waste treatment system, it's a waste management system.
Elaborate. Explain.
Cesspools don't treat wastes, it's a big container on site. And many times we adopt cesspools because you don't have a big lot.
So this is for very small places?
Yes, small and waterlogged, or areas with high water table, whereby doing a percolation field, or what we call a mound, it's going to be very expensive. Because mounds need a pump to pump it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you are in a waterlogged area, you need cesspool. But a cesspool needs regular, they have to take everything away. It doesn't treat. A septic tank, as I said, is a mini waste treatment plant. It's like you have Bogorobi or National Water at your home.
So we have learned today about septic tank, soak pit, biodigest, whales.
Private water wells.
Private water wells. Learned a lot. As we say, hopefully from this podcast, a good consumer is an educated consumer. What else do we need to know before we summarize this podcast about waste management in a residence?
One of the most important things to know is planning. Like in everything, we need to learn to plan for such things. Let me tell you, boys, if you only have a septic tank, and by one way or the other, by one reason or another, it fails to work, it will be a very big problem for your family.
Who is in charge of planning? The architect, the quantity surveyor, the M&E, who is in? Okay, first of all, planning is very key for everything you do, also in life, but especially in construction and in tech, because you don't want to start doing double job, and in the end it costs money. Everything comes to money. But when you plan for electrical, you get an electrical engineer. When you plan to build a house, you go to the architect. Sewage. Who is the authority or the experts to help you plan properly for sewage?
M&E.
M&E. So you need an M&E consultant.
Electrical engineer. But as I said, I've long held this rule that quality begins from the customer. That's why we are striving to educate them. Quality begins from the customer. As I said, if we educate the customer, we'll even insist on the quality provided by the professionals. So the M&E professional, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer will guide you. But as I said, quality.
How? I've never understood this. M&E stands for mechanical.
Or
where is sewage here? It's electrical, it's mechanical.
Okay,
Mechanicals are machineries, electrical is electric. Where is the plumbing? Where is the water?
Mechanical.
How are they become experts in my sewage when they're electro and mechanical?
But now, mechanical is not just machines. Plumbing is mechanical.
Okay.
Yeah. So other times we call it building services.
Okay.
You call a building services engineer.
Because I've been to electromechanical engineers and I see plumbing systems on the walls. I've never understood, but this is electrical mechanical. How is it related to my plumbing?
Yes, those are mechanical and electrical. So the mechanical, it's very broad. But sometimes we call them building services engineer or building services specialists. Lift elevators. It is broad. So sometimes people choose specialties, which I one time hosted an M&A guy. There are people who do like electrical. There's people who do specialize in power. the power generation, power distribution, many areas of specialization. Like law, someone specializes in criminal law, another one is electoral law, very many. Business, international trade. Yeah.
So we are highly advising you get electromechanical engineers. There are actually many in Uganda.
Building services engineer, okay, to put it mildly.
And those usually works under the architect.
The architect is, we usually say the architect is the first person that is contacted by the customer. So he brings everyone else because we believe that the customer has a dream, gets to the architect, puts it on paper. So,
but sir, they cost money. A lot of money. So what do I do if I'm a small client? What do you advise? To spend that money? Isn't it a waste of money? That's what the common people think. Let me plan my own home. Let me plan my own toilets. Let me get the plumber. Let the plumber help me. Why should I hire those guys? They charge a lot of money. What's the value? That's what the common client asks. I'm not talking about the big projects, but the common person who builds a house. I can plan my own house. I know I need bedroom. I know toilets. I know how I want my bedrooms. I want where is the kids going to be. I know where is the pool, where is the cinema. If I'm a big house, but common house, 3 bedrooms. I know how I want them. The toilets, the parking, the mania, whatever. Why architect? Why electromechanical engineer? They will cost me a lot of money.
I usually ask my friends or customers 2 questions. One, I ask them, when your child is sick, now we're talking about people who, okay, let me say educated, not learned necessarily, but educated people. I ask them, when your child is sick, what do you do? That's the first question I usually give them. They say, I call the doctor. When the child is sick, you do what? You call?
The doctor.
But to build your house or a road, you look for a fundi. Here you look for a professional when your child is sick. But to build a house, you don't give a damn. You look for... Not all of them. I deal with a lot
of course not. Of course. We're not generalizing. I'm just giving the worst case scenario of people in Kampala, Uganda, Africa.
It's always better to look for professionals. Then about the cost, it depends on how you... There's a book I read, it's called The Art of Business Seduction. You can befriend someone who's professional. You look for them. There are people in groups. Maybe you look in your old school boys and girls. There is someone in a certain profession. So look for those people that you could have gone to school with. Now I'm looking at cost reduction. Get a professional, but maybe on a highly subsidized fee. There are people who can give pro bono services. If you go in your school, OBs and OGs, there must be someone, either a doctor, an engineer, and there has to be. For most people, yes, I know some people went to village schools and were never able even to go to past senior 4, it might be difficult. But you befriend these people. These are very important connections. So when you're connected to a professional, it will give you a very friendly rate. That's what I think. It won't cost you an arm and a leg or a kidney, but you will get some professional advice. And I've seen very many engineers doing pro bono services to even big institutions that have money to pay. Pro bono services. Very prominent engineers.
So if you're not able, just search.
Search and befriend.
Now, 2 disclaimers. 1, Google is not an engineer. Google is just a search engine. Don't trust what you found on Google, even AI. Number 2, I'm sorry to say to all my professional people, but if you're building a house or you're having a project, you are not supposed to trust the plumber, the contractor, the builder. Yes, they know they have experience, but there is something completely different when you use a consultant or an architect. They know to do the calculations. So yes, the builder knows to build the wall, but the architect needs to calculate that the wall is in the right thickness for the building you're putting to see that it will not crack, fall, or whatever. The same applies to the sewage. As much as we have also given you advice and some information today, you must always consult the professionals. But we also spoke about in the standard, there are some professionals, they're not professionals. So you need to look for testimonials. You need to do it. You need to do work. If you want to have a quality place, especially if it's a home, and it's a home you're building for yourself or even for rent, and you want it for many years to last, and you don't want to spend again and again and again. Even to small things, people don't understand. They import tiles from China. No disrespect. There are some good factories in China, but when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. You might find that the tiles crack within a month. We have done a project in Rwanda some time back, few years. They had to replace all the tiles. It's not peanuts. It's a lot of money.
Let me inject a little bit. I think we should have an entire episode on tiling.
Okay.
Because it's lengthy, but if I've just hinted on it. But let me get a little bit from your submission a few seconds ago. You talked about high professional, a plumber, a mason. I usually tell people, get someone responsible for the entire completeness of the project, not piecemeal. When you do piecemeal and you don't have someone who is the focal point of accountability for the entire delivery of the project works, you are going to be in problems. A plumber comes, does his work, doesn't mind what the finisher will do.
No, the plumber also wants to come again and again to maintenance. It's money for him.
So he comes, he installs pipes, they're on the surface. The finisher comes, he can't plaster, even the fitter for the appliances. So get someone who is the focal point of accountability for the whole project works. But every time you think you're going to, you bring a finisher, and the finisher is not coordinating with the carpenter who is fitting the door frames. The guy with the door frames is not coordinating with the decor guy. The painter is not coordinated. There is a blame game.
And we spoke about it in the first episode about the corruption. You paying somebody to close his eyes, not for you to follow the standards, because all of those standards, when KCCA comes or government comes and tell you where are your plans, it's for a reason. So you paying them Kito Gidogo to go away. You are shooting yourself in the leg in the end of the day. I'm not talking about you putting a wall on the garden, although sometimes KCCA come for this as well. But when you build, you need to show plans. And it's to protect you, but also them and also the public. Because if your house will fall on the neighbors, you will be taken for prison. So corruption, not the best thing really, especially in construction, but this is where we are, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I think we're going to go back to our sewage treatment system. What we encourage our customers as the fundamental founding objective of this podcast is we need to educate you as much as possible. Look for the knowledge. Make sure you plan. Before you plan how big the dining room is going to be, plan how you're going to manage your wastes. Not only the wastewater, but even other solid wastes generated in a home. These days, you can move around Kampala and you see sacks of diapers on the streets. And the diapers are not from poor people. These are coming from rich families. They gather them in a home, they put them in a sack, puts them in a trunk of the car. He drives, he looks on the left, he stops somewhere, looks on the left, on the right, dumps on the road or in the trench. We are going to show photos. It's happened even in estates. Why would you think maybe these people are a little bit organized? People are littering everywhere. There is a documentary we are planning to air out soon especially about diapers. It's a big problem. Sanitary towels, a big problem. How do you dispose them correctly? So as you build a house, mind so much about solid waste management, but so in particular, wastewater. It's a reason. There's a big reason why they call it a convenience room. Because if it's not functioning, you want to be convenient being there. You want to be
By the way, sometimes you don't use an architect, and this convenient room is like a dungeon. People make it too small to sit. You can't move. The door can't open because you didn't plan it properly. You planned it yourself, so it's not a convenient anymore. So this is another element where you need to have proper planning.
Now that one, there is even a different code, and some of the things anyone who is following us is going to be getting most of this literature. Their sizes, our forefathers, the founders of these design standards. How much space do you need to leave from a toilet? We call it a water closet. How much what space do you need for a wash and basin, a jacuzzi, a bathtub? Everything.
You keep on talking on jacuzzi in every podcast as if there are tons of jacuzzis in Uganda, in Africa.
We try to, there are people who don't have them, there are people who have them. So we need to...
Or we want many people to start aiming for jacuzzis.
Yeah.
So most of the links, beside the pictures that you'll see, we'll put the links in the description of this podcast. Don't forget, if you manage to watch us all the way to the end, don't forget to subscribe. We shall come with more episodes every other week about all sorts of interesting subjects. You can comment us on interesting things you want us to investigate and talk about. But until then, thank you very much for today's podcast. I hope it was interesting for our listeners and viewers. And have a nice day for the rest of you.